In the village of Adewumi, there lived a man named Babatunde. He was the best cloth weaver in 7 villages. His hands could create magic with thread and loom. People came from far and near to buy his beautiful cloth. Kings wore his designs. Chiefs displayed his work with pride. Babatunde had one child, a daughter named Amora. She was his ward. His wife had died when Amora was young, so he raised her alone. Every morning, he would braid her hair. Every night, he sang her to sleep. The whole village knew that Babatunde loved his daughter more than life itself. Amora grew into a beautiful young woman. Her smile could light up the darkest room. Her laughter was like music. She was kind to everyone, even the beggars at the market. The village women would say, "That Amora, she has a heart of gold." But then, one rainy season, a young man came to the village. His name was Kofi. He was a traveling musician with a drum and a sweet voice. When he played music in the village square, even the children stopped playing to listen. Even the birds seemed to pause their songs. Amora met Kofi at the market. Their eyes met across the yam seller stalls. Love hit them like lightning. They started meeting secretly by the river. Under the moonlight, Kofi would play his drum and Amora would dance. They made promises to each other. Sweet promises that young lovers make. But fate had other plans. One morning, Amora woke up feeling sick. The village herbalist, Old Mama Ngozi, examined her and smiled. "Child," she said, "you're carrying a baby." Amora's heart filled with joy and fear at the same time. Joy because she loved Kofi. Fear because they were not yet married. Fear because she knew her father's temper. For 3 days, Amora tried to find the courage to tell her father. Her hands shook every time she wanted to speak. Her voice failed her each time she opened her mouth. Finally, on the 4th day, she could hide it no longer. That evening, as Babatunde sat outside working on his loom, Amora approached him. Her legs felt like water. Her heart beat like 1,000 drums. "Father," she said softly, "I need to tell you something." Babatunde smiled at his daughter without looking up from his weaving. "What is it, my precious one?" "Father, I am going to have a baby." The shuttle fell from Babatunde's hand. The smile died on his face. Slowly, very slowly, he turned to look at his daughter. His eyes were hard like stones. "What did you say?" His voice was quiet. Too quiet. Dangerously quiet. "I am pregnant, father. But please listen. Pregnant." Babatunde's roar shook the compound. Neighbors started peeping over their walls. "You are not married. Whose child is it?" "Father, his name is Kofi. He is a good man. He wants to marry me. We love each other. Love. Love." Babatunde stood up, his chest heaving. That useless musician. That beggar who owns nothing but a drum. That fool who wanders from village to village like a homeless goat. "Father, please. You have disgraced me. You have brought shame to our family name. Your mother, may her soul rest in peace, must be weeping in the spirit world." Amora fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Father, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Kofi and I will marry. We will." "No." Babatunde's voice cut through the night like a machete. "I raised you alone. I gave you everything. I protected you. I loved you. And this is how you repay me. By becoming a common prostitute." "Father, no. I am not." "Silence. You are no longer my daughter. You hear me? No longer my daughter." The whole village had gathered now, watching from their doorways, whispering behind their hands. "Father, please," Amora begged, crawling toward him on her knees. "Don't do this. Where will I go? What will I do?" Babatunde turned his back on her. His voice became cold, cold like the Harmattan wind. You should have thought about that before you open your legs for that useless man. Pack your things. Tonight. Before the cock crows, I want you gone from my house. Gone from this village. And don't ever come back. Father. Amora's scream pierced the night. Father, please. But Babatunde walked into his house and locked the door. No matter how much Amora cried, no matter how hard she banged on the door, he did not come out. He sat inside in the darkness, his heart like iron, his pride harder than stone. That night, as the village slept, Amora packed her few belongings into a small cloth bag. She took one last look at the compound where she had grown up. She touched the doorpost where her father had marked her height every year. She whispered goodbye to her mother's grave in the back garden. Then, with tears blending her eyes and her hand on her belly, she walked into the darkness. Alone. Pregnant. Cast out. Amora walked for 2 days before her strength gave out. She collapsed under a baobab tree, hungry and exhausted. An old woman found her there and took pity on her. The woman gave her water and food and asked no questions. "Where are you going, child?" the old woman finally asked. "Anywhere," Amora replied. "Anywhere away from here." The old woman nodded wisely. "I see. Running from shame, are you? Let me tell you something, child. You cannot outrun shame. But you can outlive it." Amora stayed with the old woman for a week, then moved on. She went to a village called Ogun, 3 days' journey from her home. Nobody knew her there. Nobody knew her story. She found work washing clothes by the river. The work was hard. The water was cold. Her hands became rough and cracked. Her back ached constantly. But she worked without complaining. She saved every cowrie shell she earned. One day, while washing clothes, she heard music from the village square. Her heart jumped. That voice, she knew that voice. She ran toward the sound, her wet hands dripping water. It was Kofi. Playing his drum. Singing for coins. "Kofi," she called out, joy flooding her heart. "Kofi, I am here. I found you." Kofi looked up. His eyes widened when he saw her. But instead of joy, Amora saw something else in his face. Fear. Guilt. "Amora," he said quietly, putting down his drum. "Kofi. Thank the gods I found you. My father threw me out. But it doesn't matter now. We can be together. We can marry. We can raise our child together." Kofi looked away. He couldn't meet her eyes. "Amora, I cannot." The word stopped. "What?" "I cannot marry you. I cannot take care of a child. I am a traveling musician. I am a free spirit. I am sorry. But you said you loved me. You said we would be together." Was a fool. I said many things. But I cannot be caged, Amora. I cannot be tied down with responsibility. I am sorry. And just like that, he picked up his drum and walked away. He didn't look back. Not even once. Amora stood in the village square, her hand on her belly, watching the father of her child disappear into the crowd. She didn't cry. She had no tears left. She just stood there, feeling like her heart had been ripped from her chest. That night, alone in the small room she rented, Amora made a decision. She would survive. She would survive for her baby. The birth was hard. Amora labored for 2 days in a small hut, with only an old midwife to help her. She screamed until her voice was gone. She prayed to gods and ancestors. And finally, her baby came into the world. A girl. Tiny. Perfect. Beautiful. "What will you name her?" the midwife asked. Amora looked at her daughter's face and smiled for the first time in months. Zainab. It means fragrant flower. Because even in all this suffering, she is beautiful. She is hope. Life with baby Zainab was harder than anything Amora had ever known. Some days they ate. Some days they didn't. Amora would wrap Zainab on her back and wash clothes from dawn to dusk. Her hands bled. Her body ached. But she sang to her daughter. She smiled at her daughter. She loved her daughter with a fierce love that surprised even her. Zainab grew despite the hardship. She learned to walk early. She learned to talk early. She was bright and curious about everything. She would ask questions that made Amora laugh even on the hardest days. Mama, where is the sun sleeping? Mama, why is water wet? Mama, do ants have mothers too? At night, Amora would hold Zainab close and tell her stories. Stories about a grandfather she had never met. A grandfather who could weave cloth more beautiful than rainbows. A grandfather who once loved his daughter more than life itself. Will I ever meet him, Mama? Zainab would ask. Maybe one day, my flower. Maybe one day. But Amora didn't believe her own words. She thought that door was closed forever. Then, when Zainab was 2 years old, disaster struck. A terrible sickness swept through the village. People died every day. The herbalist couldn't stop it. The priest couldn't pray it away. Amora caught the fever. She burned like fire. She shook like a leaf in the wind. For weeks, she danced between life and death. In her delirium, she saw visions. She saw her mother calling her to the spirit world. She saw Kofi laughing at her suffering. And she saw her father, sitting alone in his compound, weaving cloth with tears running down his face. Little Zainab stayed by her mother's side through it all. Neighbors helped feed the child. The old woman who had first helped Amora came to nurse her. Slowly, very slowly, Amora's fever broke. The day she was able to sit up, she looked at Zainab and made a decision. We are going home, she said. Home? Where is home, Mama? To your grandfather. It is time. The journey took 5 days. Amora was still weak from her illness. Zainab was only 3 years old. But they walked. They rested when they needed to. They begged for food when they had to. And they kept moving forward. As they got closer to Adewumi, Amora's heart began to pound. What if her father still hated her? What if he rejected Zainab? What if she had come all this way for nothing? But something inside her had changed during her illness. She had touched death. She had seen how short and precious life was. And she realized something important. She wasn't coming back to beg. She was coming back to offer forgiveness. She was coming back to give her father a chance to know his granddaughter. If he rejected them again, so be it. At least she would have tried. At least Zainab would know that her mother had given her every chance to know her family. They arrived in Adewumi at sunset. The village looked the same, yet different. Or maybe Amora was the one who had changed. She walked through the familiar streets holding Zainab's hand. People stared. They whispered. Some recognized her. The news spread like wildfire. Babatunde's daughter has returned. Amora walked straight to her father's compound. Her heart was beating so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. Zainab squeezed her hand. Is this where grandfather lives, Mama? Yes, my flower. This is where grandfather lives. The compound gate was open. Amora could see her father sitting outside his workshop, working on his loom in the fading light. He looked older. His hair was more gray. His shoulders seemed more bent. But his hands still moved with the same skilled rhythm on the loom. Amora took a deep breath and stepped into the compound. Father, Amora said. Her voice was steady, though her hands trembled. Babatunde's hand stopped moving. The shutter froze in midair. Slowly, very slowly, he turned his head. When he saw Amora, his face went white as chalk. The shutter fell from his hands and clattered on the ground. Amora. His voice was barely a whisper. Yes, father. It is me.
Babatunde stood up, his legs shaking. His eyes moved from Amora's face down to the small girl holding a hand. His mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. No sound came out. By now, neighbors had started gathering at the gate. The whole village would know by nightfall. Let them know, Amora thought. Let everyone know. This is Zainab, Amora said, gently pushing her daughter forward. Your granddaughter. She is 3 years old. Zainab looked up at the old man with her big, curious eyes. Hello, grandfather, she said in her sweet, small voice. Mama tells me stories about you every night. She says you can weave magic with your hands. Babatunde's eyes filled with tears. He tried to speak but couldn't. He just stood there, staring at the little girl. Amora continued, her voice growing stronger. Father, I did not come here to beg. I did not come here to ask you to take me back. I came here for Zainab. Because she deserves to know her grandfather. Because she deserves to know her family. Because she deserves more than I can give her alone. A tear rolled down Babatunde's cheek. For 3 years, Father, I have suffered. I have washed clothes until my hands bled. I have gone hungry so my daughter could eat. I have been sick and alone and afraid. Kofi rejected us. He walked away without looking back. I have had no one. No one. Amora's voice cracked but she pushed on. But you know what, Father? I survived. We survived. Because your daughter is stronger than you thought. Because your granddaughter gave me a reason to keep living. More tears were flowing down Babatunde's face now. I taught her to be kind, Father. I taught her to be honest. I taught her to work hard. And yes, I taught her about you. I told her about the grandfather who once carried me on his shoulders. Who braided my hair every morning. Who sang to me every night. I didn't tell her you threw me out. I didn't tell her you called me shameful names. I didn't poison her heart against you. Babatunde made a sound, half sob, half moan. So I came here to give you a choice, Father. You can choose your pride again. You can send us away again. And we will leave. We will survive without you, just as we have for 3 years. Or, Amora's voice softened, you can choose love. You can choose family. You can choose to be the grandfather this innocent child deserves. The village had gone completely silent. Everyone was holding their breath. The choice is yours, Father. Choose wisely. Because if you send us away now, we will never return. This is your last chance. For a long moment, Babatunde just stood there. Then, his whole body began to shake. His knees buckled. And right there, in front of the whole village, the proud master weaver fell to the ground on his knees. Forgive me, he sobbed. God forgive me. Ancestors forgive me. Amora, my daughter, please forgive me. The villagers gasped. Babatunde was crying like a child now, his face in his hands, his whole body shaking with sobs. I am the one who should be begging, he wept. I am the one who should be ashamed. What kind of father throws out his own child? What kind of man chooses pride over his own flesh and blood? He looked up at Amora with red, swollen eyes. Every single day for 3 years, I have regretted what I did. Every single night, I have lain awake wondering if you were alive or dead. I have wept into my cloth. I have called out your name in my sleep. I have been too proud, too stubborn, too foolish to come find you. He crawled forward on his knees toward Zainab. The little girl looked frightened and pressed closer to her mother. Little one, Babatunde said, his voice breaking, I am your grandfather. I have done a terrible, terrible thing. I sent your mother away when she needed me most. I missed the first 3 years of your life because I was a proud, foolish old man. Can you ever forgive me? Zainab looked up at her mother. Amara nodded, tears streaming down her own face. The little girl took a step forward and placed her tiny hand on her grandfather's head. Mama says forgiveness is like medicine, Zainab said seriously. It heals wounds. Are you wounded, grandfather? Babatunde grabbed the little hand and pressed it to his cheek. Yes, my child. I am very, very wounded. But your touch is already healing me. He looked up at Amara. Daughter, I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve a second chance. But I am begging you. Please. Let me spend whatever years I have left making up for what I did. Let me be the father I should have been. Let me be the grandfather this precious child deserves. Amara stood there, looking down at her father on his knees in the dust. All the anger she had carried for 3 years. All the hurt. All the suffering. She felt it all rising up inside her like a wave. And then, she let it go. She knelt down beside her father and wrapped her arms around him. Yes, Father. Yes. We can start again. Father and daughter held each other and wept. They wept for the lost years. They wept for the suffering. They wept for the pride that had nearly destroyed them both. And finally, they wept tears of joy and relief. Little Zainab, not fully understanding but feeling the emotion, wrapped her small arms around both of them. Don't cry, she said. We are together now. We are family. From that day forward, everything changed. Babatunde became a new man. He gave Amara and Zainab the best room in his house. He cooked for them. He cared for them. He made up for every single day he had missed. He created a small loom just for Zainab and began teaching her to weave. His patience with her was endless. When she made mistakes, he would laugh and show her again. When she created something beautiful, he would dance around the compound, showing everyone his granddaughter's work. He would carry Zainab on his shoulders to the market, just as he once did with Amara. He would braid her hair every morning. He would sing to her every night. And he would tell her stories about her mother as a little girl.